You've decided to tough it out by playing dumb. Big mistake.
How did you start your voiceover career?
Hi, how did I start my voiceover career? Well, kind of a couple different things happened, but in high school, I'm from Pittsburgh, PA, and during high school, I did musical theater. On my summers off, I worked at Kennywood Theme Park as a singer-dancer. And then at 17, I left home and I moved to Orlando to work for Disney World. So I worked on stage there, and of course, I'm working and listening to all the characters all day long. And at the same time, when I was in Orlando, I was working part-time at a Bennigan's at night, and I was the hostess, so I would be the one on the microphone, last call for alcohol. And this man, I was basically discovered by this man named Spoons Tarico, who had a 1920s jazz band, orchestra, and he came in, he said, "Do you know who Helen Kane is?" And I said, "No, I'm like 18 years old." He said, "She's one of the voices of Betty Boop. And do you sing?" And so I said, "Yes, I do." And so I went and auditioned for his orchestra. So I sang Betty Boop songs for 11 years. And then I was also working at Disney and working on stage and doing lots of comedic characters and all the theme parks in Orlando. So I took a voiceover class in the late 80s by a woman, a director named Sue Blue, and she was also Smurfette and the Snuggle Bear. And after that voiceover class, I just said, wow, I want to do this. I mean, I was so inspired by her passion and her energy. And it wasn't, you'd have to move to Hollywood really to do animation. And 2 weeks later, I got a call. They were looking for a Betty Boop in Hollywood Universal Studios. And I auditioned and got the job. So my cartoon angel, Betty Boop, brought me to Hollywood. And yeah, that was my my first start. I got an agent, and my first job was a White Castle hamburger commercial where I played the ditzy counter girl. And that was with Marvin Kaplan and Lorenzo Music, the voice of Garfield the cat, who's since passed on, but wonderful actors, both of them. And then my second job was working on The Simpsons for 3 years. And I did all the extra kids' voices and, you know, anything they needed, snake whacking day or... So that was really my start in voiceover. And in anime, at the same time in those early 90s, a couple studios started bringing anime to the West. So some of my first anime shows, my very first one was like Ninja Cadets, Ghost in the Shell, where I play the Tachikomas. And then those like early days of like Magic Knight Rayearth and shows like that.
So basically you have some experience with like American animation and then doing dubbing, voice syncing for like Japanese animation.
Yeah.
I also noticed you have some type of on camera. You've done on camera roles. Do you have a preference versus voiceover versus live camera acting?
Well, I love live camera acting. I love being on stage, and I love being on camera. One of my most favorite jobs I ever got to do on camera was on the Muppets Tonight. So I did a scene with Kermit. It is on YouTube. It was the Coolio Don Rickles episode. I didn't get to meet them, but I definitely had a scene with Kermit. And it's all different. It's so different. You know, live animation, when we're recording, it's like theater style. And then when you're dubbing anime or any kind of foreign dubbing, you're really like I'm in a padded room by myself with voices in my head, because you're literally by yourself the whole time. So they're all very, very different. I definitely love them all. But yeah, I do miss doing on camera. I used to do a lot, and you know, I had a lot of fun in the early days of my career doing on camera. I actually got my Screen Actors Guild card playing a space hooker with razor blades for fingernails in the 80s on a movie called Super Force. So I had just like a short scene with the lead character, and I had razor blades and I swiped him in an alley. But it was like, you know, 20 something, you know, which we're like catching up to now.
Okay, you said the 80s. That was quite.
Yeah,
that was quite a bit. Yeah, I was born in '88, so.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I caught on the set.
So it was around that time that I did that movie, yeah.
Okay, so gave me a lot of game there. Ask that. So what would you say was your favorite character that you ever had the opportunity to act as?
Okay, yeah. I'd say there's two. In anime, it has to be Chibi in Sailor Moon. It's kind of hard because you do like you fall in love with these characters as you're voicing them, and you do spend a lot of time with them depending on how long the series is. I love Sumomo in Chobits. I love Flan in Disgaea, but Chibi I would have to say is a dream role for any anime actor to be in Sailor Moon. To me personally, Sailor Moon is like the Star Wars of anime. And it touches everyone around the world. Like no matter what language or, every kind of person around the world feels included in this series, right? It's a very inclusive series and diverse, and I love that most of the monsters are women. There's not a lot of roles for women in anime or even regular mainstream animation, and Sailor Moon has like all of them. There's very few villains or characters that are male. It's all women, the evil and the good, right? So I love, but Chibi I'd have to say is actually just an honor to voice her. And then the other one is Betty Boop. When I got the call to voice Betty Boop, I was working at Universal Studios as the living Betty Boop. I did a lot of publicity and touring and worked in the park and special events. And then I would get asked to do like the theme park in Orlando or the wake up call in the hotel as Betty Boop, or sing and record for the parks down there. So I'd have to say it's an honor to get called to do a voice for Betty Boop for a project. I was on Project Runway All Stars this February. Was this February or last February? Yeah, and that was really fun to record Betty's voice for that. Betty and Popeye were on, and it was really fun. So yeah, anytime Betty Boop shows up, it's just both of them an honor.
You're dropping like all these names from my childhood, like it's taking me back like the late '80s and early '90s. I know Betty Boop is like way older than that.
Yeah.
That's something that I kind of like grew up with along with like Sailor Moon.
Yeah, and Betty Boop is the first talking cartoon. She's considered the queen of cartoons, and she, just like the Sailor Moon series, is known all over the world. Just her image is like iconic. Very much like Hello Kitty is known all over the world. You see that image and you know exactly who that is. So
I always think of the sound, like always say when she's doo-doop, doo-doop. I always think of that one.
Oh yeah, boop boop be doop boop.
See, I can't do it, but yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So you just you just answered gave a lot of game. So what would you say do you think is the most important quality for somebody that would like to pursue a career in voiceover?
Oh, absolutely. That's a really good question. My husband Lex Lang and I don't know if you guys got to interview him. He's also a voice actor, but we do teach voice acting boot camps, and special workshops. And we always say the foundation of voice acting is acting. So key and important is that you want to be an actor, you desire to be an actor, you have a passion for acting and performing. So that would be it. Because you are you're learning how to create these characters from within. It's not about the voice, that's secondary, the range and the voice and what you can do with that voice is secondary to creating that character from within. And I would also advise improv classes. That's been very, very helpful. When you study improv, you can jump into anything, like jump into the fear of the unknown and create something out of nothing, right? And I'd say that's 90% of my job is to walk into the studio. I've never seen the script or had the opportunity to see the script. So improv is really helpful. So acting, background, foundation, and improv. And then the third thing I would say is there's a great website by a voice actor named D. Bradley Baker, and it's called iwanttobeavoiceactor.com, and he lays out sequencing and all the tips and tools for voice acting. It's a free site, and it's just such a great site. We always recommend it.
I've seen that site actually.
Oh, good, good.
I wasn't really too sure. I haven't used it many times, but I have looked at it before. I've taken improv classes that at one point in my life I wanted to do voiceovers.
Yeah.
And I kind of just switched gears like to that behind the scenes stuff. I'd rather do like post production style work.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to see what different people have to say about like tips and stuff like that, because a lot of people say the same thing, and then when you spoke to actual professionals, they give you different tips. They actually give you the game, and when you give the tea, that's the best thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I feel personally that you can't do it for money. You can't do it because you want to be famous. You have to do it because you love it. And anything, have you heard of that Marie Kondo, what sparks joy, right?
Yeah.
Well, I feel that same way about like your path in life, what sparks joy. Like you took improv because that was exciting to you, and then you found that you love being in the background and doing post and like creating all this from behind the scenes. And sometimes something will lead us somewhere, and then it'll take us somewhere we unexpected. Yeah, so I say follow your heart, like follow what sparks joy in you. And don't do it because it's like, oh, I want to be that person. And the second thing I tell a lot of people too is you have to bring you to the game. You have to bring your unique vibration in yourself and not try to be like that person or like that or mimic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we all came here with our own individual vibration. Like you're a vibration that no one has what you have, your essence. And the same thing with you and you out there and me. And so we have to like be fully here and present and bring our vibration to everything we do.
I'm going to use that unique vibration. I've never heard it expressed that way.
Oh yeah.
But I would like to thank you for taking the time to like talk with us right now and like sharing this tea. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And I hope you had a nice time at the con.
I did. I love this is one of my favorite cons, AnimeNEXT. Yeah, if you get to Atlantic City, you gotta check it out.
Pro, it's nappy roots till my heart stop. That's why my heart and my art so it can't stop.